It'll pan out here. Um, Hello and welcome. My name is Amelie, and you are tuning into the Solastic Intelligence podcast. Today we have episode number 63, which is a nine number, end of a cycle, um, which is really exciting. So today we're going to be talking about Pluto that recently entered Aquarius, I think at the beginning of the year. So at the end of January, maybe beginning of February, somewhere in there, it happened. Um, which is a generational planet. So there's certain generations. It's about 15 years, give or take, of the Pluto transition from one sign into another. And so it was in Capricorn, and then it moved into Aquarius. So now we're in Aquarius, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that influence means. And then we're going to talk about what its influence is on the financial system. So today we're going to be talking a lot about money. What is it? And then next, I think on Saturday, I have another stream lined up for the evening. I might have to change the time around, but I'm going to be talking about clean agreements. So we've been talking a lot lately about, well, this whole arc this year has been very structured, even though it may not seem like that. Um, so the 2026 arc this year started with our foundation. So, really just laying out what our identity is, what is identity, our inner governance, how are we running the show, how is our inner world running the show, and that included the sovereign interiority, the what is governing my inner world, the essence, who am I after I strip down everything, just base level, this is who I am. um, no performance, no extractions, no lipstick on the pig. It's just what is it at the very bottom. Then we moved into what is called survival adaptation, or even how do we move from survival adaptation, which is we're so used to these survival mechanisms. How are we moving into um, beyond that survival into something that is a little bit more strengthened? Because that hello, Vinya Gupta. I don't know how to say that. But how to move from survival adaptation, which is kind of being used to that, into something that's a little bit more flow, beyond that survival mechanism. And then tidal multiplicity, just holding all of these different roles that we have in our lives, um, and the range of identities, the range of roles that we have, being able to like go in and out of these different identities or roles, and do so without fragmenting our mind, our hearts, our body, because right now that's what's really kind of driving this burnout culture that we're experiencing. And yeah, Kindred. I know everybody's been calling me Dorothy today. I've got my little princess dress on. Um, so that includes emotions. It includes, that identity, and just being able to go the tidal multiplicity is being able to go in and out of these identities without crashing and falling and burning and destabilizing. Okay, so that's where we started, and now we're kind of in the middle of the structure where we're talking about how are we stabilizing our power. So we've got our foundation, who are we, what am I, how am I interacting with my world, and we've got that digital space too that's also like tending to fragment us, which I think is causing a lot of strain on just our identities in general. But now we've been moving into like nervous system governance, you know um, do I go from reaction and I just sit there in reaction and then like live in fear, or am I to going from reaction to my regulation. How am I regulating myself in my situation? And then into that internal leadership where we can um, listen to ourselves and have that really strong self leadership of where am I going? Where are we going? We being me, myself, and I. Where are we running off to? Okay. And then we talked about spiritual bypass, which is kind of this avoidance of the 3D realm or reality, in favor of like, oh, I don't need to worry about that because like I'm going to be taken care of. So, really, just not having a really strong sense of self, just really kind of being spiritual, love and light. Oh, I don't need to worry about that. So today we're going to be talking about money, money as a spiritual mirror of, um, if we look at the way that money interacts in our life, we can see where our integrity tests are. Okay, so I like to think of the person who um, wins the lottery and then all of a sudden, like in a couple years, it's gone and they have nothing to show for it. And that happens because that money is a mirror. It's a huge energy. Like when you get a large amount of money, there's a huge energy weighted behind it. And so we're going to be talking about how that is affected by this Pluto and Aquarius change. And yo, spicy. I know I've been I don't know what happened. I just got Alanis more. So I was born in the 80s. I was born in the 80s. And so when I was a teenager, Alanis Morissette came out and it was like the thing. I remember it was one of my first CDs that I ever had. It was just at that time shift. But later on, it wasn't her Jagged Little Pill album. It was one of them after. She has a song called Uninvited, and it's just a haunting, eerie sounding, like very Lilith centered song of like having this strong boundary, but like holding this really neat dualism within her life, like this dualist feminist. Like the Lilith fair was huge back then, and anyways, I've been listening to that song, and so yeah. Okay. um, so once we get past the structure, I'm gonna move into talking about direction. But thank you guys for joining. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my podcast channel, YouTube channel. It just helps the algorithm gods do what algorithm gods do, or whatever, or don't. Like, I'm not telling you what to do. You choose you. So, we're going to be talking really cool. After we talk about structure, we're going to be getting into direction, which we're going to be talking about retrocausality and what that looks like in our lives. Okay. Um, all right. So, let's see if I can find my notes here. I hope everybody is having a wonderful time today. Thank you for joining me. Um, as I said, this is episode 63. We're going to be talking about Pluto and we're going to be talking about financial stuff as well. So, like I said before, Pluto is this generational influence. It just left Capricorn. I was born when it was in Libra. And then, the generation, I think it was really close cut off. The generation after me was Pluto in Scorpio. So you got that scorpionic energy. So as it like shifts, the boomers, they were all in Leo. And so that's why they have this like childlike, um, kind of maybe not the best parents, like not the most available parents because that Generation X, um, Gen X has their own situation, and I'm not talking down on Gen X because I have a lot of Gen X friends, and I was born in a spot where I kind of relate to a lot of Gen X, so definitely not talking down on them. But their parents were from this generation that was just like very childlike. Um, so there's a really heavy influence that Pluto has on the generations. But when Pluto entered Aquarius, okay, so Pluto is this planet of power, control, destruction, rebirth. It is a Scorpion base. Scorpio is like the sign that's around that. And then for Aquarius, it's really about systems, technology, collective, decentralization, very a lot different than I wouldn't know. I guess I wouldn't say a lot different than Pluto, but Pluto, is it has this rebirth situation, whereas Aquarius kind of does too, in its own way, where it's just kind of like pulling away from whatever the current system is and kind of being this avant-garde um, influence. What are you doing? I am live streaming. Like on some sure I've hit the bell. Are you single? I am single. Oh, Mike's here. Mike's in the house. What's up, Mike? Okay. So the Pluto in Aquarius isn't just a vibe, right? This is about um who is controlling power, because Pluto is that power, right? Who's controlling power when systems evolve faster than institutions. Okay. So, right now, we're kind of in this threshold liminal space as a society with the systems that we have in place. And from, me looking at systems, that's what I do. I don't know what happened, but when I went to school for business and I majored in organizational management. And part of it is because I can see the trends, I can see the patterns, and I can see like where things are going. And so when I step back and I look at what is going on in the field, and what I see is a lot of people that want to give up, and they're like, I don't even want to like go through with whatever is going to happen, because, and we'll get into these different areas, um because right now, like, I just feel defeated, I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I don't even think I can go to work again, like it's just really exhausting. And I know exactly what that is like. I've done that a couple times where I've had to like quit a job and then like have some me time so I can recenter and then go back into, okay, what is going to work for me now. um and then on the other side, you have this really strong institutional or corporate vibe where it's like I just go to work and I make my money and then I come home, and like it's business as usual. I don't see a problem, or if I do see it, it's like none of my concern. Like I'm taken care of. Okay. So you've got these two vastly different perspectives. Then you have people that are hybrid, where they have a foot still in that controlled environment, but then they also see like I want to get out of this environment, and so you've got this hybrid situation going on, which I think is very Pluto and Aquarius. And then you have this like really 5% unicorn, where they're complete like mostly removed from any of the systems that are going on. Okay. So, right now, I'm already seeing that threshold, that separation of different not generations, different thoughts and experiences within the current systems that we have going right now. Okay. So the core shift of the Pluto in Aquarius is going from control to distribution. So there's this old world vibe that's happening. Okay. So the old world is going to be like hierarchy. Like the hierarchical structure is king. That's what we go by. That's what we do. You have gatekeepers, people that don't want that old world system to crumble, and they're doing everything in their power to maintain that old world system, because if that old world system fails, then it's certain doom for everybody. And I'm sure we've heard things like this or heard this before. The old world is holding this trust in institutions. So any institutions that are there, they're holding on to that. They trust that old institution. It's been around for X number of years and it's always worked. And so there's no reason to not trust it. Okay. So you've got those people. Um, and then the old world, and this is kind of a Pluto and Capricorn, but not, because it's been going on a lot longer. You have these permission based success, like not just gatekeeping. It's just like you have permission to do whatever. All right. You can be successful within our system, but you have the permission to do it. Think the IRS. Okay. Now, with the emerging world or this new world, I'm seeing it kind of split into these different factions. All right. So the emerging world is not looking at hierarchy, it's looking at more networking. Okay. Just, I know these people, I'm connecting with these people. Right now, I'm networking, just having this podcast, just hosting this podcast. I'm networking. Okay. Any any group or organization or whatever, even if it's online, a digital like group of people, I'm networking within those systems. Okay. So that's the emerging world. Like this is going to be part of the currency, is how well do you network? How well are you connecting with people? Mr. Nargis, what tea am I drinking? Oh, today I'm thank you for asking. Um, it is called Sweet Rose, I think, and uh, it's by a brand Organic India, and Tulsi is holy basil, and it's just flavored with sweet rose. It is really really good. It's very rosy. I love it. I got some new teas this weekend, so I'm very excited that you're curious about what tea I'm drinking. Because I was going to mention it. No honey in it. I just have just the tea, and it's really actually um, very delicious. So thanks for asking. Okay, and so the next thing is we're going to have this emerging world. This Pluto in Aquarius is also going to be more peer to peer systems, okay? Peer to peer systems. It's going to be more identity based value. Because right now we have this institutional trust. Right now we have gatekeepers. But in this new world, it's going to be starting to shift into this peer to peer structure where we're working together, and then identity based value where you're connecting. It's not just an institution, it's more co-op, you know, cooperation. We're co-oping. We're working together to get the best price. All right. Especially with prices right now, we have this institutional trust in grocery stores. All right. We can't, like, it's shifted so much from 100 years ago to now, where we have this really strong institutional trust that grocery stores are going to be around. I'm going to be able to get my exotic passion fruits when I live in the northernmost part of Canada at any time. Okay. And I can have it delivered to me. I don't think that a lot of the systems that we have will necessarily go away, but the way that we interact with them is going to do that. And so co ops are kind of like that. It's like this peer to peer system where you're like, oh, you want to buy uh, dolomite and lime and whatever for your garden. We're going to create a co op where, we can get a bulk amount of that. And if you shop at Costco, it's the same idea, but they're choosing like what they're going to put in there. When you go to Costco, it's like You're buying in bulk so that you can get this price savings. Okay. And that's like a peer to peer system. But as we kind of go through the next few years, that's going to start shifting even more and more, where it's going to be locally, what's the closest way that I can connect and get these materials that I need. Okay. So that institutional trust is going to go away, and the peer to peer is going to be. Um, oh, what's the weirdest thing in your fridge? These Q&A stickers are weird. I don't know if I'm supposed to answer that. What is the weirdest thing in my fridge? Mm, there's lots of pickles in there. Hmm. I don't know. I just cleaned it out. I don't really have anything weird in there. Okay. So, unlike the old world, the new world is going to have these permissionless creation. Okay. So instead of permission based success, there's going to be, you're just going to be creating things, and it's going to, people are going to find the things that they need. Okay. So we're not changing, it's not simply just changing an economy, it's changing who gets to participate in it. All right. And how we participate in them. Um, my roommate, she's so sweet. She's an Aquarius. Hopefully, she doesn't mind me sharing this story, but I'm going to do it anyways. So she was having this dream, and she's telling me about this dream, and she's like, yeah, it was in the future, and we would go to a grocery store, but it wasn't like there was no money to be exchanged. Like there's no cash exchange. And we would go there. You had to go there every day, and you can only get so much that you could carry and whatever you needed for the day. So if you needed something, beyond to stockpile, you couldn't do that. And so it was just kind of an interesting new way of, getting the things that you need while still working together as a community. So those things are not going away. Like we're going to still have communities. It's just you're going to start to see these stark break-offs because of that Aquarian influence of how we operate within it. And we've already started to see some of the shift happening. Okay. So, what happens to existing structure? All right. What happens to existing structures? Because we're still talking about structure, we're still talking about us and how we're interacting with it and how we're going to make it through the shift. Um, so, in the financial systems, because this is Pluto versus financial systems, that's what we're talking about today. The financial systems, the traditional bank is losing exclusivity. So before, the banks were just kind of like we put a lot of trust in them. We got that FDIC, and I've worked in banks before, but that traditional sense of banking is going to start losing that exclusivity, and we've already started to see that with Venmo, with breaking away into uh, cryptocurrency. um, that traditional banking structure is losing exclusivity. You're seeing banks shut down, bank locations shut down. It's going more online, and they're trying to diversify to still be able to work within these new systems. So if you've ever used Venmo, Cash App, I can't remember what's the other one. I stopped using them because my bank didn't support them anymore. Anyways, whatever it was. Um, so that traditional bank is losing exclusivity. And in the financial system, there's going to be a rise of these peer to peer exchanges, which is things like Venmo, Cash App. and you're going to see new digital ecosystems start. Okay, so there's going to be new digital ecosystems beyond the NFTs, which are non fungible tokens or something like that. It's going to be beyond that. So, direct exchange, digital ecosystem exchange. And we kind of already saw that a little bit with eBay, and eBay's like kind of revamping and making itself newer ish. And then we have the value shifts in labor being from going from labor to identity to creativity. Okay. The value is going to, what we value within those systems are going to start shifting. How we see labor is going to shift. Our identity that's tied to our job is going to shift. The creativity is going to expand. Okay. It's going to start changing a lot from what it was to something new. And then for work and income, okay, so job security is going to weaken. So I'm going to say it right now, and I'm not trying to like spread any fear or anything like that because I don't think it's a fearful thing. However, like as your labor is going to be shifting in this newish digital integrated world, digitally integrated world, you're going to want to diversify and not rely on one system that's going to be providing for you. And if you're if you're relying on the government to take care of certain things for you, like figure out how to diversify. I don't care if you need to be like 3D printing little buckets and selling them for 50 cents or whatever. I don't know. Like figure out how you're going to diversify your income, okay? You want multiple streams coming in because we're shifting into this different world. It's already happening with influencers, and you guys can go watch my Digital Age series where I talk about all of these things and how it's changing, and like we've already accepted it, and like the ship is moving in that direction, okay? Um and then the the fact of the matter is these multiple income streams are going to normalize. It is going to be normal for you to be an influencer. It's going to be it kind of already is. TikTok shop is like insane. People are making insane amounts of money on there, okay? It's but are you stable enough to go onto these sites and start the business that maybe you have a little bit of passion. Maybe you do like to try on dresses and you're not afraid to do that on TikTok. And so if you're able to do that and maintain your audience and keep them interested and like you're likable to a certain group of people, that's your income revenue, okay? You're creating multiple income revenues. This is going to be normal in the new system because that old world system is like it's like just like if you can't see it's falling apart and you don't know that it's falling apart, like I'm here to tell you that it is. And like it's going to continue to go that way. And yeah, there's going to be a little bit of fight, as that transition happens. But it's not going to be like apocalyptic, like, oh my gosh, like it's totally terrible. It's just been this slow degradation over time. Okay. But you can be proactive and get started on these multiple income streams to secure yourself, to secure your family, to figure out what is going to work for you. But first and foremost, like I said, go back and watch my episode on coherence. You need to get stable, okay? Can't be flopping around there with your identity not being in a stable, grounded, centered area. Figure out what you got to do to get centered. Your mind, your heart, and your body all in agreement. Okay, that's all it is. Mind, heart, body, all in agreement. All right, go watch Coherence. It was episode 61 or 60. I don't remember. Okay. Then, you know, what happens to the existing structures? People are going to move from being just an employee to becoming a builder of something. All right. Whatever they're building, like the builders are going to be, as this old world collapses, we've got new builders arising. And that's the best way I can describe it. So instead of just being an employee, now you're going from an employee to a builder. Okay. Maybe you know a trade. Maybe you're interested in learning a trade. Maybe you're interested in being a welder and you're like, man, I'm going to be a welder. I'm going to start doing that on the side. So you're working your one job and then you're welding on the side. And then all of a sudden, like that's your new income stream. And maybe you use that quality skill that you have to make yard art and put it online. Okay? So we're moving from just being an employee that has been able to maintain and sustain our lives in this system that we are currently are in the old world, to now we're building something new in this new world. Okay. And then also, people are going to be moving from whatever their roles were into a new identity. Okay. So just know that this shift is happening and you might have to hold multiple roles and multiple identities and shift all of them. And that's where multiplicity comes in, and that coherence is important for you to be able to maneuver through the next part of life. Okay. Now, finally, systems like the United States Constitution, which I love so much, they're not going to be rewritten, but they're going to be reinterpreted because we have this new world coming in. This digital age is a new world that's being quickly integrated into every part of our lives. You literally almost cannot have any like thing online without having a phone. It's like a requirement to have it. In fact, the government gives out phones because that's just the way of the world right now. Okay? We let go of having those landlines and the beepers and um, the telephone booths. Okay? We don't have those anymore. So we're going to see a lot of changes as far as that is concerned. Um, the legal systems are lagging behind innovation. Innovation is happening rapidly, especially right now. Since 2020, like all of these new things have rapidly introduced themselves. It's hard to believe that Zoom was just kind of like not even a thought before 2020, okay? Or Teams. And now it's like staples in our lives. All right. Um, so the legal systems are going to lag because they do move slowly. But they're going to need to define what is digital identity, what is digital ownership, okay? What is data security, data privacy? How is that being interpreted in the United States Constitution, protecting our rights as citizens, okay? Acknowledging our sovereignty. How is the legal system lagging? Because that innovation is just it's blossoming and going, and even AI is just like booming right now. Everything is going into AI. It's almost like you can't even go onto a website without interacting with AI at some point. Even phone calls. I've called people and it's some AI assistant bot that is, you're talking to it and it's trying to figure out, am I going to send you over to the person that, is I'm doing a service for, or can I reroute you to something else and give you the answers like here over the phone, okay? And I've seen the infrastructure for businesses to do that, small businesses to do that. Okay, so in the technological innovation especially is going to continue to skyrocket quickly. All right. And then finally, as far as authority and law, when we're looking at what's happening to the existing structures that we've had, because they're all just kind of crumbling and degrading in front of our eyes, um, the power struggles over data, digital ownership, and autonomy, like our autonomy, we're going to see some power struggles. All right. And like I said, we're not just all going together on the same boat. We're just not all on the same boat, okay? We all can choose how we author our lives and which direction we're all going to go. We don't all have to go down one stream at the same time on the same boat. It's just life is not like that. Time is not linear, folks. It's cyclical, okay? So remember that we still have our autonomy, we still have that decision making, we still have our sovereignty in how are we interacting with this new world that's being created? Because who's creating it? Are you letting somebody else do it? Or are you doing it for yourself? Are you being the author of your life? Okay. Do you have your own authority and self leadership and gumption enough to step into it? Okay. So the real anchor here is the law is not going to lead this ship, the shift. It's going to be chasing it. Okay, we're getting real here. This is structure. Structure is important to hold your thing together, to hold your life together. And I've fallen all apart a lot, so I know how important structure is. Okay, so let's talk about the collapse mechanism because I think that's really important to outline here. Um, let's talk about what's already breaking. So before I created the outline, I did a really heavy card read spread. And so the collapse mechanism that's going on right now that we can identify is burnout economy. What is burnout? Burnout is when you're like hustling, surviving. And now there's like about 30 to 40% of the population that's just like, I don't even have it in me. If the end of the world comes, I'm screwed and I don't even care. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to just give up and throw in the towel. That's 30 to 40% of the population right now. And they're in their survival adaptation and they're just going through the motions. But really, they're just like, I can't even. Like, if something happened, I don't even have the energy to even face it. Okay. And I've been there. I've been there. I know what that's like. So we've got this burnout economy that's going on. And that collapse there is kind of pushing through this new Aquarian, Pluto and Aquarius world that we're talking about. Okay. Because you're seeing people kind of drop like flies that can't maintain in the current world structure as we're in this like liminal space of like the old world and the new. Okay. We're just in this middle space and it's like a lot of people cannot manage it because it is really hard to like think of. And while I'm like observing it and discussing and talking about what's going on within it, um I know like I've experienced that burnout. I've experienced that burnout. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like to get out of it too, and that it's possible. Because here I am. I didn't give up. Wanted to a couple times. It's like, I don't even know. But um, I just have so much like, I'm just like, no, you can make it through this. So I just kind of, I'm like, well, the worst has already happened. Like, what else more terrible can happen? Like, that's literally where I've come from. Okay. The next collapse mechanism, the next collapse mechanism, all right, is you're going to see. a little bit of financial exclusion and a little bit of financial pressure. All right. So these things are going to be a collapse mechanism, and you're already starting to see it. Okay. Especially this year with gas prices going through the roof. A couple years ago, all of these chicken egg factories were burning up, like exploding. And um, so there's like a little bit of financial pressure. You saw toilet paper not be on the shelves. You saw the cost of eggs go up. You saw the cost of lumber go up, and then come down and then come down, right? You're seeing like these really strong upticks and then like it will level out. Strong upticks, it will level out. And right now that's going on with oil. So, oil, there was a lot of targeting of the oil factories. And so you're going to see that spike up. And then eventually, like once new refineries start going into play, then you're going to start to see the prices level out again. It's just going to take time. Like oil refining, the refinery process takes time. It takes time to extract it. Like the it's a government thing. The contracts have to be negotiated, and then once they're negotiated and there's a price set, then the extraction process happens, and then once it's turned into usable fuel, then it's diverted into wherever it's going. And so that process takes time. And I can tell you that being an American, we have plenty of oil in our land to take care of our oil needs. Okay. But we rely on these foreign entities to bring it in. So just know that we as Americans have enough resources in our land to take care of ourselves. And we can definitely refine our lives to not have so many options. One, sometimes I'll go into the grocery store, or to a store, I should say, any store. Doesn't have to be a grocery store. Go into any store, okay? And I clock how much time am I trying to decide on, you know, what relish to purchase, or what um, ant bait to get, or you know, there's so many options. What cereal to get, what this to get, what that to get. Like there's tons of options. And then I take an even further step back of all my options, and then I'm looking at how much how much did it how much energy and materials did it take to make said things that I'm just like have as this cornucopia with in front of me. Like we literally live like kings and queens. We can like choose whether to eat fully organic, non-GMO. We can choose to grow our own food. We can choose to exclusively rely on restaurants. Like the way that we live is pretty crazy and insane, and until you kind of like pop out of that mindset and like really look at how we interact with our current structure, um it's going to be hard to land when things start getting taken away or things start to cost more than they do. Like I remember when DoorDash came out in 2020. I think it was like they came out in that time. Somewhere around there they came out. And I had never used DoorDash before, or Uber Eats or whatever. I don't even know which one it was. Um and I remember I was in a hotel and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna DoorDash some sushi. Okay, this is how American I am. I'm gonna DoorDash some sushi. So I went on to the DoorDash and I'm like, I want these sushis delivered to me. And wouldn't you know it, within like 15 minutes, I think it was less than 15 minutes, it was on my doorstep, ready to be consumed. And, I don't remember how much I paid for it. I was just like blown away on one, how fast it was, two, that I could even have something like that. It felt like I was in some sort of futuristic film where Lulu goes and she pushes the button for a roasted chicken, and then all of a sudden there's this like huge roasted chicken in whatever machine she was using. It was just very, um, like that experience put a really solid imprint in my life of like where we are as a society. Like, not only can we get goods on Amazon just like instantly, but now even like restaurant food, you can just have it delivered instantly. And I was just kind of blown away. Since then, I think I've only used DoorDash one time, and it was because I had somebody had gotten me a gift card to it, and so I used that. And then periodically I'll go on to see, okay, if I ordered a hamburger, how much would it be? And I am like still blown away, but it's like cost a fortune. And I'll be listening to people on podcasts, and they'll say, oh yeah, I DoorDash 3 times a day. I DoorDash all my meals. DoorDash my coffee. I DoorDash this. I and or Uber Eats that. Whatever the thing is, like we live very extravagantly, and that costs money. It's like at least $6 to $10 per transaction for those things just to have it delivered to you like immediately. So there is still going to be this financial exclusion and this financial pressure that is going to happen, that is going to be a part of the collapse mechanism that is going to start shifting this world. But um, for all it's worth, there is the when I talk about the digital age, I'm talking about all this digital integration, DoorDash included. Um, it didn't necessarily create the collapse. Okay, the digital age did not create the collapse. It was like it was already sitting there. Like we knew it was there, particularly in 2008, 2009 when we went through the Great Recession. Okay. So we're already seeing like evidence of a collapse. But the digital age, as we're integrating all this digital technology into our lives, has accelerated the exposure of the system. Okay. It's just showing us what the system currently is, and that it can no longer sustain people and these systems that we have. Okay. And so naturally, those are going to change. Do I think it's going to be like dropping a bomb? No, I don't think it's going to be that insane. You're just going to start to see different areas of different industries having their own strains and shifts. And eventually, it's just going to we're going to be creative enough to replace those systems with whatever digital integration we can work into it. Okay. Now, let's talk about the psychological battlefield that we're going through. So, why do people stay stuck? Why are they stuck? Okay. So, some of the core patterns of why we're stuck is one is avoidance. Okay. And I talked a lot about avoidance, I think it was last stream. And so, that avoidance is a core pattern where we don't want to deal with the problem. Okay. There's a lot of people that don't want to deal with the problem. But the people that do deal with the problems, they're going to see the problem and they're going to say, you know what? That's a problem. How am I going to resolve that issue? And I see lots of problems. Health apps, just apps in general, are problems. But some people can make really good ones and they're good solutions. Okay. But for me, it's a problem. I don't want to deal with them. In fact, I don't want to deal with them at all. I want to be removed from the apps. And I think a lot of people might agree with me. Fancy. My fancy sushi. So we've got a core problem of avoidance. And then the next core problem that we're going through that's a huge psychological issue right now is exhaustion, which leads into disengagement. Like we just want to be completely removed from everything and everything. And I like to think about the girls that are like, can't we just like go out into the forest and find a stream and then just like make a cabin and live next to the stream and then we're taken care of? Like I think about that kind of a disengagement, okay? And there's other ways, and I think video game, like being involved in the video games is a huge thing, but it's that exhaustion that's fueling that disengagement, okay? And then finally, there's a psychological battle that happens when we're dealing with these issues where we're dealing with a fear of instability, okay? A fear of instability, and which is real. I don't blame you if you're looking at the future and you're like, it's completely unstable. I don't even know how I'm gonna make it through that. And so it kind of feeds into the that fear of, I don't know what the landscape's gonna be like. Everything is just gonna fall apart. I'm not gonna be able to go to my grocery store. I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna be able to do that. Blah 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 blah. And because of that instability of not knowing what the future is going to be, it's going to be one of the psychological battlefields that you're going to see people go through. And you can remove yourself from this and like look at people and see like exactly what's going on. All right. I see it all the time. So that avoidance is a flight response. The exhaustion is a fight response that has led to it's going to lead to disengagement because you're not going to be able to keep up with that. And then that instability is really just because that inner core of yourself, the inner core, I had to work on this a lot. I realized I've been saying 10 years ago, it's 15 years ago now, that I thought all of this stuff was going to start happening on a major scale. Like I thought it was already going to start happening. I was pregnant and I was like, oh my gosh, the world's completely unstable. I'm not even going to have a place to go birth this baby. And oh my gosh, what's going to happen? So I was literally like looking up online DIY um, emergency birth kits and what needs to go into that emergency birth kit so that I can give birth to this baby and have all the things that I need to make that situation comfortable because I take action. And that was my action taking was like, how am I going to create like an emergency baby delivery thing? Okay. So most people are not trapped in the system. Okay. They're not trapped in the system. They're just too overwhelmed. Because remember, when you don't have nervous system governance, when your nervous system is on survival adaptation only, right, it's not going to be able to imagine ways to get out of it. Okay, it's just going to dig deeper into, okay, well, that's the fear that that's going to happen. And then that's all you can think about. And then all of a sudden, that's all that you're creating because your mind is literally creating your mind, your heart, your body is literally creating the world around you. Like it's your own projection. You're authoring it by believing that fear and the instability. Okay, you're feeding it and it likes to eat. It's an eater. Okay, it's eating. Okay, so most people are not trapped. They can get out. And it's like you can get out if you're listening to this right now and you're hearing my voice and you're hearing what I'm saying and it's landing somewhere inside of you, okay? That's how you get out of it. You start to hear these other people that are not feeding into that fear. I'm completely stable. In fact, I'm excited to like see where this goes. I'm not scared of rate hikes of this or that. Like I know solidly that Lord willing, I'm going to be taken care of. Okay? I have abundance all around me. I'm going to be very much taken care of. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I've been through much worse than what I'm seeing happening. Okay. And that's really the attitude as we're going into this that um, you should be holding within yourself. Okay. While maintaining that stability. And then when you need to create a new identity to deal with a new situation, you're able to do that because you've got all of this bounty within you. Okay. All those identities, all those roles, all of the excitement to dealing with this next level. Okay. Now let's talk about who's threatened by this shift because there's definitely things that are being threatened that you're probably feeling that anxiety from those groups of that threat. So let's cleanly name it. So first is a centralized financial power is threatened by this shift because we're moving from that old world energy into the new emerging energy where it's like we're not trusting these big corporations, institutions, whatever. We're trusting our peer to peer groups around us. Okay. Institutional authority structures are being threatened. Think big corporations. I mean, fuck, like Elon. Meh. Yeah, you make a lot of money, but I just don't see people necessarily continuing to follow through with that. Like, things are going to get revealed about people. Not necessarily Elon. I'm not calling him out or anything, but I'm just saying, like, he's got the most money in the world, like the person, like, oh, what do they call it? Whatever that top top is. um, but he's got these institutions, and you know, I think with the current instability, like it's just going to affect these companies. And I've looked into some of the things that like Tesla has done and how they're run, how these places are run, and definitely some nervous system issues with those places. Okay, and you can look back on some of my videos about it. Now, the other thing is we've got all these elites that are trying to maintain control, and they're going to get exhausted trying to maintain and fight this change that's happening, and it's happening whether they want it to or not. And they're going to try and hold on to control and power, or try to have control and power. And for the most part, I do think that people will believe that they do have it. But like I used to believe that, and now I'm just like, they don't have any power. In fact, I have more power than they do. They may think that they do, but it's all energy. It's all energy. All right. So, really, the threat is it's not just old power collapsing, it's this new power that's coming in, this new power, the emergent builders, the thinkers, the doers. We're not going to have people in high places that don't get their hands dirty in the soil. This is going to be a test to see what, with this new energy that's coming through, who is going to hold in integrity and authority and be completely stable. And that's where this podcast is coming in. All right. So, moving on, who gains power and why it's not who you think. Okay. Like I said, this is going to be the learners right now are going to be the experts in the future. Whenever there's a collapse, like this old elite was able, they knew how to ride that energy. And then it's like they created these situations so that they could ride it. It was almost like surfing. They're ready to surf these economic hardships in certain situations. So think the fall of Tsarist Russia into Soviet Russia. There was definitely this wave, this surfing that they were riding into that new power. Not saying that that was good, but they were definitely riding it. Okay, a lot of people made a lot of money um, during that shift. Okay, but now because we've got this digital interface that we're working with, there's lots of opportunities out there that haven't even shown themselves to be opportunities yet. And um, what did they say about the is the mother of invention? Necessity is the mother of invention. So you're going to see a lot of people that are learning certain things become experts. Okay. Because the shift, anybody that wants to learn how to use AI, use AI effectively in business, in whatever, right now you're starting to see a lot of that emerging technology. And so those people are starting to gain power. Builders, so the people that are building during this shift of power are going to be the new commentators for what's happening. All right. So you're going to have learners, builders, and then you're going to have adapters. The adapters are going to be able to have their feet in both worlds, but then they're going to be established in this new world. Okay. So the power is just going to shift. Okay. And then the power is not going to go to the most established. These institutions and corporations are collapsing. So it's not necessarily that. It's going to be who's the most responsive, who's alive out there, who's seeing the what it is for what it is. All right. Okay. I talked about it earlier, but we're going to be seeing a split. There's multiple realities emerging, and I was really excited when I stumbled upon this. I was working on this over the weekend, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's going to be a boring stream about money." Um, and then I stumbled on some old notes that I had taken, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is really exciting, actually." So we have a split. It's a multiple realities are emerging in this split right now. Okay. So with one system, like I mentioned, we have this controlled system. Okay. It's that structured, efficient, controlled system. And that's the one that we're coming out of. And it's still going to hold a little bit in the new emerging world power or whatever the new systems are. You're going to see that that's still going to be there. Okay. People are still going to be operating under that, and probably for just a little short period of time, because the older generation that is used to that kind of system, those generations are dying out, and now we're kind of emerging into this. We're already in generation B. Okay, generation beta is already here. Okay. Now, the next one is an emerging reality that I call the drift state. Now, these are the people that are burnt out. They're disengaged, okay? They don't want to participate anymore, and they're totally passive. They're not showing up because their nervous systems are literally in survival mode. They can't see themselves out of the situation. They can't think themselves out of the situation anymore. Being burnout is like being psychologically quadriplegic. Okay. Like you got to get yourself out of that. If you're not like it's very very hard to get out of it. I've had to get out of it a couple times. The first time I had no idea what I was doing and it took me 2 years, maybe longer before I could get out of it. Okay? The next time it took me a few months, less than a year, maybe a little over a year, I don't know. Maybe I'm still working on it. But it was not as hard as the first time. You live and you learn. Okay. So that's our second uh, reality that's emerging. The third reality that's emerging is the hybrid. Okay. So this is people that come onto that are part of my audience. All right. They got one foot in one world, one foot in the other world. They're looking forward to that. They're trying to figure out, how do I get there? They're questioning, how do I diversify myself so that I'm taken care of and I'm going into the new power, the new system, okay? Adjusting from one system to the other. And I know how to operate in this one. I know how to operate in this one, but how do I merge these two together so that I have the most successful plan for myself based on my identity? Okay. And so if you're here and that it rains with you, and maybe it doesn't, maybe people don't want to hear what I'm talking about right now, but they will. I'm just a time traveler. I'm coming from the future and telling you guys what's going to happen in the future. Um, but they're this group is questioning, but they're not anchored quite yet. Okay. And this is a very small percentage of people. All right. And then finally, our last group, which is the smallest group right now in current reality, um, they are called what I call the sovereign builders. Okay. So these are people that are already in their identity based income. Okay. They have their identity based income streams. Maybe they're an influencer. Maybe, they have their own job. Maybe they're a psychic. Maybe they're a tarot reader. Maybe they started a business and now they're a landscaper. Maybe they, whatever their thing is, they, based on their identity, have their own business that's supplying them income, okay, based on their identity. And a lot of people started shifting into this during quarantine, during 2020, when they had to leave these jobs that weren't respecting their privacy, their autonomy, and were forcing them to wear masks, forcing them to take vaccines that they didn't want to take. It didn't align with them. And so they said no, and they figured out something else that would work for them. Okay. Those are the sovereign builders. A lot of people during 2020, when they were like, shut your businesses down, it was like, they were like taking those get out of jail free cards like it was a certified pass. Like, let's go. I don't want to do anything. And so the world was still going. There was still a demand. And the people that were ready to step into those identities could even probably buy off some of these businesses that decided, we're not going to do anything because we don't want to cooperate with whatever. And we just want to like sit back and take a break and enjoy life and do something different. And now, like, that whole world has shifted. Okay. There's a lot of success stories that came out of that. Now, the sovereign builders are also doing something else, which is community and creation. Okay. Community and creation. So they're working together within their community and creating these really nice, tight knit groups and creating things within those communities. All right. They're building already in their communities. They're building their infrastructure, these little mini infrastructures. Okay. So those sovereign builders are out there. It's a very small amount of people. It's about 5%, I would say, give or take. So it's a very small percentage compared to these others. Most people are going to be in that drift state. Most people right now are just burnt out, disengaged. They don't care. They don't know how to look ahead because they literally can't. Like their bodies literally cannot do it. So we we've identified four realities right now that are kind of emerging, all right? And then the the whole thing around this is Pluto in Aquarius is not creating just one future. Like I said, we're not all on the same ship going down the same route together. Time is not linear. We're definitely cyclical. People are in different areas at all times. And some of us, like me, want to know how to be in multiple locations at once. And I'm getting there. But Pluto in Aquarius is creating multiple futures. Okay. And the people are going to sort themselves out. So we're in this real wheat and tares situation, right? The wheat is being separated from the chaff. So you'll start to see like people going into these different realities. And so which one are you going to go into? If you're a hybrid like me, where you're like in the old system, but you're kind of building this new system and creating the multiple revenue streams, how am I going to do that? Um, how am I going to make it stick? Like, get a hold of me. If this is calling out to you, get a hold of me. Like, let's chat. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so we did that. Let's talk about the money models to really ground what we've talked about today. So the new money models are going to be identity based income. We just talked about that. Okay, community based wealth, cooperation, and figuring out what do we need as a community, what is wealth, really redefining that. It's a new money model. So maybe barter is something that's a part of that. Maybe somebody grows one thing, somebody grows another thing, somebody makes this thing, somebody makes that thing. Okay, so you've got community based wealth. You're able to like have maybe somebody creates a tool library within their community, and then tool libraries are all of a sudden like the rage and the thing. Okay, people are going to start getting creative. They're going to have to, oh, we can't go to the grocery store and buy cheap ass Chinese goods anymore. Well, Bob down the road knows how to blacksmith, and Peter down the road knows how to whittle, so we can make tools, and we can have a little library share, borrow, or maybe somebody creates the thing and you can have it at your home permanently, or somebody just has a bunch of materials that they have sitting around and they're able to, oh, okay, we have to know our neighbors now. All right, to get into the real world, we can't just hide away anymore. People are people are already hungry for that, you guys. I'm not joking. Like this, so basic. All right, another new money model, okay, is skill monetization. So, what kind of skills do you have? I remember back when I was thinking like this was going to happen, and maybe I was just time traveling, just maybe 20 years ahead of ahead of time. No big deal, just time traveling, just expert time traveler. I think it's really funny because back in 2009, I created my Facebook profile, and for so many years, back when I created my Facebook profile, I put my I put my job as time traveler. And now I look back at that and I'm like laughing so hard because here it is, like almost 20 years later. We're 3 years away from 20 years. 20 years later, I'm literally a time traveler. I'm like blown away that that's even a thing. All right. So skill monetization. So back in the 2009, I'm like, dude, what's going on around me? And by 2011, I was freaked the F out, fearing instability, like being this, being the drift class of like, oh my gosh, like shit's going to hit the fan and blah, blah, blah. I gotta start prepping and everything like that. So during that time, I, um, I ended up getting pregnant and I was like, ah, I I need to like learn how to do all these things. So I was making my own laundry soap. I was making my own food stores. I was buying in bulk, trying to like make $250 in 2011, 2012, stretch for the whole month, which was really difficult. So I can only imagine like how much more difficult it is now. So the skills that you have are going to be monetizable, okay? Now you can start to get really creative here of what is a niche need and can do I have the passion to fill that? You don't have the passion, you're not going to be able to follow suit with it. But it takes more than passion. Do you have the stability, the inner stability to have that integrity and hold into whatever you're providing as a skill to monetize it? And it doesn't have to be monetized in I'm performing this for cash. It could be a barter, a trade. Um, it can be used in different ways. You just in this new world, we're going to start thinking about these things in different ways. Okay. And then new money models also include the hybrid income streams. Okay, so you're going to have multiple income streams. How are you going to start setting that up and make it happen and make it work? Okay, so figure out how that's going to happen. And there's so many different things that you can do. It just depends on what is your skill. What is your skill, and how are you going to monetize it? How are you going to build that into some sort of income stream so that you're utilizing your beautiful energy that wants to create and be wonderful? Because if you're not creating right now and you're just like logically going through life, like your life is very dull and it's must be really difficult. And it's not good on the soul. Like we need to be creating, we need to be building, we need to be doing all that stuff. And some of us more than others, okay? So money is no longer just something that we're earning, that we're getting from an employer. It's something that you're generating through how you exist and how you connect with others. What value can I add into somebody else's life? And when I say value, what energy exchange can I can we reciprocate here? Okay, so we're going through some changes. I just might be 20 years ahead of time. No big deal. Hopefully not 20. Maybe for some of us it might be 20. I don't know. Now we are coming up at the end of my stream here, but the moral test, so power without corruption, okay? Because we're going through a new cycle here. So um when I think about this moral test, I think about the book of Exodus, okay? And in the book of Exodus, there there were the Hebrews, and they were working for Egypt. They were stuck in Egypt. They were all like, they all had jobs and roles and whatever. So Moses gets born, almost dies, because all the firstborns are supposed to die, and ends up becoming son of Pharaoh. So he's like next in line to be Pharaoh, and he's a Hebrew. Um, so so what happens is, Moses is like, God's like, hey, go release my people from Egypt. And Moses is like, okay. So he and Aaron go and talk to Pharaoh, and he knows Pharaoh and he knows the whole system of Pharaoh. Like he knows the old world system. He's like, hey, why don't you release the Hebrews, and we'll take off. We'll go into the wilderness. And Pharaoh didn't want to, so that whole thing like led into a situation. And then finally, after all these terrible things start happening to in Egypt, Pharaoh's like, fine, go. And so, Moses parted the Red Sea and they all like went through it. And so they had this miraculous like get out of Egypt free card going on. And lo and behold, they're in the wilderness and they're being fed manna from heaven. So they're being provided for. But the grumbling starts, okay? They start mourning the old system. They start mourning that old slavery system while they're out in the wilderness. They're like, we wouldn't have to put up with all this stuff in Egypt. Why are we having to subject ourselves to all of this that's going on? Okay. So they were not passing that morality test. Okay. So, will people, after these changes start happening, will people recreate the domination of the old world once they gain power? That's going to be the moral test. Are you going to be reverting back into that old world situation? Because we just left a 9 year and now we're in this new cycle. But as we go through this, and it's going to take years, but as we go through this, are we going to start recreating those domination cycles that we're we're reverting from, that we don't want to participate in anymore? Okay, so that's going to be the moral test. So just because we have freedom doesn't mean we have integrity. Okay, it doesn't mean that we're holding integrity. We can definitely go back and complain and say, hey, I really wanted to maintain this thing about the old world, and look back and all of a sudden, you know, you're not you're not in freedom with integrity. So the freedom is going to, like, this test is going to reveal parts of our character. Okay. Now, finally, the last thing before I end transmission today is the decision point that we're facing. All right. So, the decision point that we're facing is, are you avoiding this shift that's happening? Okay. This is more than just financial structure, this is like a whole power structure that's changing. The financial system is just a reveal of where we're at. One time, I don't know who came up with this theory. Maybe it's just old world knowledge, all right? But somebody said maybe the new flood isn't physically water. Maybe it's just an energetic flood. And money is kind of this energetic flood right now. Like they keep on printing it like it's none other. It's like flooding the market, okay? And really shifting the way that the dollar, at least in America, is, what the buying power is behind it. And right now, we're just going to see that buying power, how the flood is like going to affect the markets. Okay. So, how are you avoiding this shift is one thing that you can look at, that decision point personally. How are you dealing with it? Oh, it's a good thing I'm almost done. I'm so yawny. All right. So, are you clinging to stability? Are you clinging to just to the stability of the institution, of the corporation, of the current old world setup? Are you clinging to it because it's providing you some sort of stability? Because you haven't created that stability in your own self, okay? You haven't created that stability in your own self, that you're clinging to external stability because there's nothing stable to hold you together, because your pole, your stable brain, heart, and body are not in agreement, okay? That you have to like start grabbing on to things outside because you're just flopping around like a fish out of water, okay? Or are you building something new? Are you currently building something new? And that could be a possibility. And good job and kudos to you for listening to whatever intuition told you to get on with building something new. Okay. Now, I'm going to say this, the things that I'm talking about don't have to, it's not like an all of a sudden the gates of hell are going to open up, an earthquake's going to swallow you into the earth, and then you're going to die. Okay. That's not how this works. It's not how this works. You don't have to leave the system overnight. Okay. You can start now taking small steps. We have this beautiful thing called grace of getting out of the situation. And so you can take your own personal steps to getting out of the system. And it's not an overnight thing. It's going to take time. I've been working on this for 15 years at least that I know of. Because before then, I was just kind of like floating around like a dandelion seed, floating around wherever. Okay. So you don't have to leave the system overnight, but you do have to decide on if your future depends on the system that you're staying in if you're not going to leave it. Okay? You get to choose how your future depends on whichever decision you're going to make today. And this transmission can happen, 10 years ago, it can happen 10 years ahead of time. Like, this is a constant transmission that is going to be true. All right. Now, my closing transmission as I'm ending today, we're looking at creation as this power. All right. So let's revert what we think of power and change the way we think of power, as in these old world systems of the old things or whatever. And we're looking at creation as power right now because it's going to be needed. Like, we need to have the creative minds out there to navigate these new situations that we're going to experience with the creative task of how do we make it better? How do we make this work for people? How do we make it? And we have to do it within these small systems. Like, a decentralization is really what's happening as Aquarius just pulls us out of the current systems that we're in. Okay. Now, embodiment is going to be a currency. And what do I mean by embodiment? I mean locking it in, locking our heart, our body, and our mind in, locking it in, creating an agreement. Okay. That is embodiment. When you're present and you're feeling and you're living, it's a completely different, like, that embodiment is a currency. Okay. Because you're going to be connecting to the things that you need when you're in alignment. Now you're seeing everything clearly. Now you have clarity. Now you're listening to your intuition. And your intuition is like deeply connected with the divine. And that divine is meeting other divinities other souls out there and magnetizing to you, because those needs that you have, maybe you don't even know you have them, are going to be met because now you're super clear. Now you're in like things are going to abundantly take care of you. I had a beautiful dream. I'm not going to go into it, but had a beautiful dream where, like, symbolically, my ancestors are like, don't even worry about it. We'll clean it up. Don't even worry about it. You keep ascending. You keep living in embodiment. We're going to take care of this, the cleanup. You don't have to worry about it. The only thing you need to worry about is making sure you're making it up the stairs, making it up the ladder. Okay. And then finally, we're not chasing anything. We're generating. We're generating our identities. We're generating our incomes. We're generating. We're creating. Because now we're in a stable body that we can hold these things. And now that we can hold them, all the things that used to slip through our fingers are now firmly planted in our hands. All the things that are just like waiting for someone or something. People say, like, angels are just waiting for somebody to call on them and come and ask them to come and do something for us in this 3D body, spiritual body that we have. Angels are just waiting to wait on us. They're like hungry for it. All right. So let's call on them to come in and work with us. Like, we've got this whole heavenly world that wants to come down and help serve us as we're going through this thing called life. Okay? So Pluto in Aquarius isn't asking if you can survive the new system, because that's the old world. It's asking if you're willing to become a source within it. Okay? Maybe people, like, maybe there's not that many out there that want to. Okay? Um all right. Well, that is going to end my transmission. I've gone on for 92 minutes. This is episode number 63, called Pluto and Financial Structures, Pluto versus Financial Structures. And this is very important. I know it probably doesn't land for a lot of people. It's very heavy, maybe hard to follow, so that's fine. And so, if you made it this far, congratulations. I applaud you, because this is speaking to something that only the future seers may be able to see. But it is a great way. This is beyond mindset. Like a lot of people will go into this like mindset fix, blah blah blah. It's not that. This is beyond that. Okay. And it's not just looking at astrology. It's like actually integrating that astrology into what we're going into next. Okay. So my next stream is going to be on Saturday. I have an appointment on next Tuesday, so I'm not going to be able to stream then. But please, if you've made it this far, like, subscribe, pop down in the comments if you want to add something to this, and please, if you really enjoy this content, um, hit the notification bell so that you get notifications of when I go live. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful next few days. Can't believe it's almost May, and happy Taurus season. Um, much love, and I will see you guys on Saturday. Bye.